Hello and welcome back to the Shakey Sonnet Show. I am Tootight Lautrec, the drag laureate of the Sonnetarium, and here we are once again in the Sonnetarium at the bottom of the down staircase in the permanently sequestered remainder section of an unnamed local library which may or may not have a couple of lions couchant looking askance and strangely at their previous peccadillos which they confessed in Sonnets 109 and 110, about which they were then so very unbothered, to see that now, 30 sonnets later in Sonnets 139 and 140, the tables have turned and someone is decidedly bothered. I imagine these two sets of sonnets, Sonnets 109 and 110 and 139 and 140, in conversation with one another, where 139 and 140 are an opening salvo to a confrontation, only to have 109 and 110 as the flippant answer and spoken by the mistress. You, of course, can go back and look at 109 and 110 for yourselves, but we will press on and get right down to the throbbing wound of 139 and 140, beginning with Sonnet 139. Oh, call not me to justify the wrong that thy unkindness lays upon my heart. Wound me not with thine eye, but with thy tongue. Use power with power, and slay me not by art. Tell me thou lov'st elsewhere, but in my sight, dear heart, forbear to glance thine eye aside. What needst thou wound with cunning, when thy might is more than my o'er-pressed defence can bide? Let me excuse thee. Ah, my love well knows her pretty looks have been mine enemies, and therefore from my face she turns my foes, that they elsewhere might dart their injuries. Yet do not so. But since I am near slain, kill me outright with looks, and rid my pain. Okay. First quatrain. Call not me to justify the wrong. Don't ask me to justify your cruelty. Use power with power. Don't be subtle about it. Slay me not by art. If you're going to kill me outright. And this theme has echoes with Sonnet 90, although Sonnet 90 was quite a bit better in my opinion. And it's the Sonnet 90 is the one that starts, then hate me if thou wilt, if ever now. And then it goes on to say, if thou wilt leave me, do not leave me last, when other petty griefs have done that spite. But in the onset comes, so I shall taste at first the very worst of fortune's might. And I do love that, first of very worst of fortune's might. But here we have the sonneteering convention of the mistress's eyes as weapons that are locked and loaded with Cupid's arrows, as they, one look and she kills you with the love that she engenders in the lover. So here the lover is saying, don't wound me with your eyes, but with your tongue. Tell me what's going on here. And then when we get to the second quatrain, we see what's going on. Tell me thou lovest elsewhere. And he wants her to tell him straight out. Stop dilly-dallying with me. Tell me plainly that thou lovest elsewhere. Tell me that thou lovest elsewhere. But in my sight, dear heart, kind of condescending, but in my sight, dear heart, forbear to glance thine eye aside. What needst thou wound with cunning when thy might is more than my o'er-pressed defence can bide? Your subtle side glances at all the other dapper dudes, and who knows, maybe bediademed Dianas as well, are killing me. And if you're going to scratch your itch by looking at someone else, for Bard's sakes, don't do it right in front of me. I'm right here. I see you. So forbear to glance thine eye aside. And since we're there, we might as well stop for a little vocabulary, cocktail party vocabulary word. Those glances, which are called blenches in Sonnet 110 at line 7. Those glances where one's, kind of like looking at someone from across a crowded room, are called oiades. Oeillade. So if you're at a cocktail party and someone throws you an oeillade from across the room, it may be a very interesting night. Oeillade. Lemony. So what needs thou wound with cunning when thy might is more than my oar-pressed defense can bide, or can abide, can stand. Your arrow-like glances overpower anyone upon whom they are trained, and if you're going to send those glances aside, you know that you're going to cause other men to fall in love with you. Then we get to the third quatrain. A little bit more of the condescension. Let me excuse thee. We turn from a direct discourse to the lover taking on the beloved's voice, or not taking on the beloved's voice, but making an excuse for her. Ah, my love well knows her pretty looks have been mine enemies. And here, pretty, the word pretty can mean attractive, it can mean slight or small, or it can mean wanton. And looks, meaning either her pretty looks, her beautiful appearance, or her sly glances at other people, her looks that she gives to other people. Let me excuse me. Ah, my love well knows her pretty looks have been mine enemies, and therefore from my face she turns my foes, my enemies, her looks, that her glances at other people, which used to dart arrows of love at me, but now they're darting arrows at love at other people. She turns those enemies from me so that she can dart them elsewhere, which I'm not really too fond of. And it sounds here like he's painting a picture of his beloved as someone who's more like Medusa than anyone else, where she can kill with a glance. So he gives this excuse for her. She turns her looks from me so that she doesn't kill me with her love arrows, and she turns them on other people so that she can spare me. And then the couplet, but do not so. Since I am near slain, kill me outright with looks and rid my pain. And here again we have echoes from another sonnet, Sonnet 40, which is another one of my favorites, which is that one of the ones that starts with the triangulation in the young man sonnets, and it starts, take all my loves, my love, yea, take them all, and ends with a couplet that says, lascivious grace, in whom all ill well knows, kill me with spites, yet we must not be foes. So by looking only at the narrator, the beloved can kill him outright, and he's begging her to do just that, to kill him outright instead of throwing her love arrows at other people. So while neither as clear nor as pretty as sonnets 40 or 90, sonnet 139 still packs a punch, but kind of a punch right in the narrator's face as far as I'm concerned. But, everyone to obsess, our dear narrator just can't let it go. He's not done yet, so we move along directly to Sonnet 140. 140. Be wise as thou art cruel. Do not press my tongue-tied patience with too much disdain, lest sorrow lend me words, and words express the manner of my pity-wanting pain. If I might teach thee wit, better it were, though not to love, yet love to tell me so. As testy sick men when their deaths be near, no news but health from their physicians know. For if I should despair, I should grow mad, and in my madness might speak ill of thee. Now this ill-resting world is grown so bad, mad slanderers by mad ears believed be. That I may not be so, nor thou belied, bear thine eyes straight, though thy proud heart go wide. Okay, now we get to the threats and the warnings. Be wise, we have this finger-wagging be wise as the very first words. Don't press me. I've been holding my tongue, but also I've been holding my pen in my hand and writing it all down behind your back, but I've been holding my tongue so far. Don't make me say what I don't want to say, because you'll regret it. And I'll regret it, and we'll probably both regret it. And it's a very aggressive sounding first quatrain with a lot of the very hard consonants. Be wise as thou art cruel, the T and the C. Do not press me, my tongue-tied patience. Those T's and D's and C's and P's, and yeah, the P's also, and the D's. My tongue-tied patience with too much disdain, lest sorrow lend me words, and words express the manner of my pity-wanting pain. It's very aggressive sounding. It sounds like it's not a particularly soft approach to what's going on. And do not press me, or do not press my tongue-tied patience. Some editors believe give a hint at a certain type of medieval torture called, in French, so excuse me, peine forte et dure, where a defendant is asked to plead for him or herself, and if the defendant refuses to plead, heavier and heavier and heavier stones are placed upon his chest until he either enters a plea or dies. So there's a hint at that, the sort of pain that the mistress is causing the lover narrator. Then we get to the second quatrain. Again condescending. If I might teach thee wit, okay, you want to play it clever? Here's clever. Even if you don't love me, at least tell me you do. Though not... Better it were, though not to love, yet love, to tell me so. As testy sick men, when their deaths be near, no news but health from their physicians know. Just tell me you love me, even if you don't. Just like, dying men on their last gasps on their bed want the doctor to come in and say, hey, you're looking good today, even though, the stench of death is in the air. He wants someone to say, well, even if you don't love me, just tell me you love me, and that'll make it all better. And this actually does remind me also of a Julia Jacqueline song, which I'll link below, called Good Guy, which begins, tell me I'm the love of your life, just for tonight, even if you don't mean it. It's a good song. Listen to it. Reminds me a little bit of this sonnet. But then we get to the third quatrain. For if I should despair, I should grow mad. If I give up, if I lose hope, I might go crazy and speak ill of thee. Uh-oh. And now this ill-resting world, I love that phrase, the ill-resting world, a world that wrests the lies out of people, wrests lies out of things that people say. And if someone says something, it might just be believed. So crazy people, mad ears, just might believe crazy things that some people might say. Mad slanderers, these people are. And even though the 1609 quarto is pretty clear, some editors changed the slanderers from a person to slanders, which is the lies themselves. But they both work, but I prefer the original, the slanderers. So, that I may not be so, that I may not be a mad slanderer, nor thou belied, nor you lied about, or nor you besmirched. Bear thine eyes straight. If you're gonna kill someone with your love arrows, I'm your mark right here. Bear thine eyes straight, though thy proud heart go wide. So even though your proud heart, and proud gives a little whiff also of horny. You're proud, because when someone's in their pride, animals often in their pride are at the peak of their sexual excitation. Then if your proud heart is going to look otherwise, just don't do it. I'm your mark. Look at me only. Keep your eyes straight. And again, it's that Sonnetarian convention of the beloved's eyes shooting arrows of love. So, in these two sonnets, what do we have here? I think we know what we have. We have a gender. In Sonnet 139, her pretty looks. In line, let's see, what is that? I guess about line 10, her pretty looks. And 140 follows directly upon it, so we've got a gender. It seems pretty clear that the mistress is being spoken about in both of these sonnets. Now, is there a dramatic analogy? Edmondson and Wells tell us that the dramatic analogy would be Sylvius to Phoebe in As You Like It, Act 3, Scene 5, line 16, where she says to him, "And if mine eyes can wound, now let them kill me." So, okay, there's a correlation with some dramatic thing. They also say in Hamlet and Ophelia, one to another, I guess because if someone goes mad, then trouble's going to brew, and trouble does certainly brew, and people do certainly go mad in Hamlet. So, narratively, where does that leave us? Well, I have to say, unlike the procreation sonnets, which are sonnets 1 to 117, or the other young man sonnets from 18 to 126, this third group, which seems to be mostly about the mistress, or what people call the dark lady sonnets, this third group seems to sport a clearer narrative thread. Our lover boy meets a dark-eyed, dark-haired woman. She's hot. They get busy. She's playing the field. And he's sort of fine with that for a while at least, and then he's not. He starts getting a little weird and a little possessive and falling more and more deeply into the Petrarchan and Sonnetarian conventions of the unrequited lover in love with a woman who doesn't reciprocate. But the difference here is that she does indeed reciprocate in some of these earlier poems, and not just with him, but it seems with many, many other people. So she reciprocates, but not in the way or as fully as the lover would like. So that leaves us with our poor, poor narrator. Always a side dish, never an entree. And I have to say that when we get to the level of threats, things can't go too much better from here, can they? We'll see. Meanwhile, bear thine eyes straight and keep your eyes on the prize. And as we all know, the prize are all the wonders that are in your world. Pay attention to them. Until next time, I am Tootight Lautrec.